women. Widowhood practices affect the individual's psyche as they deal with internal and external conflicts, which automatically affects their productivity and by extension, national development. It is unbelievable to think that in some communities, tradition still holds sway to the fact that no man dies a natural death. Even when the cause is established, even when it is obvious that the wife has sacrificed, even if when it is obvious, but they always believe that the wife has sacrificed him to the extent of almost losing their self-esteem in the course of providing such unpaid care services. The unacceptable dimension of harmful widowhood practice have taken and has resulted in the declaration of the 23rd June 2010 by the United Nations to raise awareness of the violation of human rights that women go through in many countries following the deaths of their spouses, which automatically throws them into difficult situations. This year, the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs joined other stakeholders and the development community to commemorate the 2020 theme, Invisible Women, Invisible Problems. The theme raises concern of absence of policies to address the plight of widows, which automatically means that they are not factored into national development process. Experiences of many women in Nigeria, no matter the class, who suddenly find themselves in such situations due to no fault of theirs is better imagined, as they have gory tales to tell. The period of bereavement associated with widowhood has been described by many as the most difficult time of life, which constitute a source of emotional, physical, and mental stress. This is further worsened by the inability of family members and society to stand with the widow at such trying periods to enable her recover. In some cultures, a widow is further subjected to so many dehumanizing widowhood practices, such as shaving of hairs, wearing of black and white clothes, sleeping and sitting on the floor or mat, being refrained from bathing for a number of days, seclusion and being made to swear with husband's cups, drinking the water with which the husband's cup was washed before burial. The list is simply endless. In some communities, they are denied of inheritance and land rights, eviction from their homes, ostracized and abused. It is so disheartening to note that women in many cultures are the custodians of this dehumanizing treatment. It is truly imagined that the evil treatment meted out does not respect educational or class status. Once it happens, women find themselves in the theater of unending inhuman treatment. The plight of young widows is most unfortunate. It becomes a double tragedy when they have no personal economic base to fall back on. The children of widows are not spared from the wickedness. These children often find themselves affected, especially when they are young and do not have a choice. Sometimes they are withdrawn from school and more vulnerable to abuse, especially in the case of girls. I wish to use this occasion to appeal to our traditional leaders to also look inwards to ensure that they do away with these practices as they do not represent the beauty of humanity. But I have good news for all widows in Nigeria. Widowhood is not a curse, neither is it a condemnation to hell, nor a passport to self-pity. I therefore appeal to women who find themselves in such precarious situations to stand strong and tall in the face of adversities, believing that the storm does not last forever. Even in their vulnerability, they should not lose themselves. I am speaking from experience. They should not recourse to violence, as this has never solved any problem, but rather speak out, seek justice, and seek redress. The process might be long and unwinding, But in the end, the righteous will always triumph. I know that some of you listening to me may want to ask if there have been cases where justice has triumphed, or are there any free government interventions to support widows to seek justice? My response is yes. Let me take you back to the landmark judgment of 14th April 2014, in which the Supreme Court invalidated the Igbo customary law denying female descendants the right to inherit. You will also recall that the Nigerian Supreme Court, in a unanimous decision, had confirmed decision of 2 lower courts, which had found unconstitutional an Igbo customary law of succession, excluding female offspring from eligibility to inherit the property of their fathers. For government agencies to have the Legal Aid Council, which facilitates pro bono services to indigent Nigerians, including widows. For civil society organizations, we have bodies such as FIDA, which is a body of female lawyers working with the ministry to protect the human rights of women. With the rampaging effect of COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of people have lost their means of livelihood, including widows. The situation of the average widow becomes more precarious as they are most sometimes locked into their homes with empty hands and stomach for fear of stigmatization, rejection by the community. Who would ever have imagined that the world will come to a near standstill with the only option of communication and interaction being the virtual space? It is so heartwarming to note that women have also risen to embrace the information superhighway as the only option for now. This is true empowerment, and I salute all women for rising up to the challenge. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in view of the urgent steps needed to respond to the burning issues in the wake of the national outcry that trailed the surge in rape cases in Nigeria in the last few months, my ministry has made progress in the following areas. I presented a memo to the Federal Executive Council Wednesday, the 10th of June, 2020, on the unacceptable trends and patterns and the surge of rape and other gender-based violence in the country. The outcome of this memo led to the following. Mr. President directed the Attorney General and Minister of Justice to immediately inaugurate an interministerial gender-based violence management to profile and synchronize approach to address all forms of violence against women and children, which was inaugurated on the 23rd of July 2020. Directives was also given to the Inspector General of Police to deal with all perpetrators in furtherance of the declaration of zero tolerance to rape and other gender-based violence by Mr. President, as well as constant engagement with the police on the need to promptly address issues of gender-based violence. I also held a webinar with the 36 state governors.
Yeah, that's what I do for God. Because they look, say, when the money can't tell how much they give me, they can't share the way they come off from. I say, even if you give 500 million,
Please,
5
can
years
we
come back, they say, but I'm find me 10,000.
Let me mute everybody.
Honorable Minister, can you unmute yourself, ma'am? Unmute yourself. You have been muted. Somebody muted her. Can you unmute yourself, ma'am?
Okay.
We need the organizers to unmute the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs. She's staying muted. That's it. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. I also had a Zoom meeting with all the 36 state governors on gender-based violence and rape. And at the end of the meeting on the 10th of June, all the 36 governors resolved to support my ministry, and they all declared a zero tolerance of gender-based violence as a state of emergency in their various states. We had clearly the commitment of the Senate President, the Speaker of the National Assembly, all wives of governors, the First Lady of the Federation, the wife of the Vice President, all of them condemn rape and gender-based violence in its totality. The wives of governors also form a coalition headed by the wife of the chairman of the Governors Forum, Mrs. Irelu Faimi, leading the coalition of concerned wives of governors on gender-based violence and rape. Some governors have also taken a very proactive step by even amending their laws to include castration. Kaduna is an example. The governor of Kaduna swore that he will not live in Kaduna with a rapist. So it's not just about ensuring that they are given the highest punishment of life imprisonment, but the weapon of rape has to be dealt with. I commend that, and I call on all other state governors to emulate and take this very proactive step. Because if that is done to 2 or 3, it will serve as a deterrent to others. As soon as the situation improves, the ministry will flag off a national advocacy campaign against rape and gender-based violence in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. What has slowed us down now is the COVID-19 protocols, but we are using other medias to intensify advocacy against all forms of violence against women and children. Because I say children because it's not just the girls. The boys are also raped, the boys are molested, and we say no to all forms of violence against our children. In the same way, I participated in a webinar with civil society organizations as a follow-up to all the measures taken. We have held constant engagement with grassroots and other traditional institutions through the use of radio, jingles, community mobilization, and other IEC materials. As a ministry, we have ensured that widows are included in our programs. This informed their inclusion in our distribution of palliative as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. In fact, I have put, as far as distribution of palliative is concerned, widows are top on my list, and even the support we've given states, I directed the various states and our commissioners, through our commissioners for women affairs, to ensure that top priority is given to widows and other vulnerable groups. Presently, we have an ongoing project of 17 states in the Federation of their palliatives to support our widows and the vulnerable. It's a joint program with the UN Women Palliative Distribution Project. It has taken off, and the most beneficiaries are the widows. As we go about programming for this segment of the society, we need to do more. We need to be more strategic. This means that we require data. In line with that, we are working with Almana Foundation and Women Radio to further enhance our planned interventions at different levels of engagement. In this regard, I wish to call on all who are working with widows and for widows to encourage them to join us in this drive to build a credible database for widows in Nigeria. As the ministry, We are retooling many of our economic empowerment projects to make them more accessible to beneficiaries, especially our widows. We have flagged off the 50 Million Women Speak Platform project, a laudable initiative of the African Development Bank in collaboration with Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, Economic Community of West African States, and Eastern African Community. The project seeks to provide a veritable rallying e-platform for knowledge sharing and learning on entrepreneurship, creation, sustainability, and marketing opportunities cross-border between urban and rural areas in ECOWAS member states. As the national gender machinery, the ministry will continue to work assiduously with non-governmental organizations, international development partners, and local communities, as well as other relevant stakeholders, to empower women to achieve economic prosperity for the country, encapsulated as one priority deliverables of the ministry under the present administration, in collaboration with relevant stakeholders, to develop and implement economic empowerment programs for our women, especially our widows. By so doing, we'll together be able to contribute to building a just, free society for all. I thank you all for listening.
Okay.